Go ahead, Dan.
But everybody's hungry at this time of year. Last year, you guys are coming off a playoff appearance. This year, coming off kind of a sour finish. What have you sensed from your guys in there? Just like the hunger level of getting going and kind of getting started with the spring training in the season.
Well, I think it speaks to the number of players that are here early, and we still have a very young team. We've got guys that have a lot to prove yet, but certainly with the way our season ended, it was a sour note, and you felt it talking to guys throughout the off season. As we made changes to the roster and whatnot, but talking to the core players that are definitely going to be back here, they have a little chip on their shoulder. It was hard to watch the playoffs play out the way they did, with the two teams in our division getting to the championship series and one winning it all. So there's certainly there's fire in the belly here, so to speak. I guess is the way I would put it.
Not that you would want to miss out on the postseason, but can that experience of coming short and fueling that fire maybe be a good thing for some of these years?
You hope it is. You never want to have that. I would love to be in the postseason every year. I thought we should have made it last year, but you didn't. You got to move on from it. Today's day one of starting fresh and figuring out how we get back in.
Scott, are you surprised how many players are here early? I mean, like, the guys have been here for a week. Some of them, even the position players, have not had to report till next week.
Yeah, I think there's a couple reasons for it. One, you talked about the desire to get back into it and get after chasing the new goal, getting into the playoffs. I think we have a few new coaches. One being on the hitting side, we've kind of restructured our hitting coaches and kind of the responsibilities there. And Brant Brown, working with Jared DeHart and Tommy Joseph. Both Brant and Tommy live here in Arizona, very close to the complex. They're here. So inviting players to come down and work with them to start developing that relationship, it's really important. I know everybody thinks spring training's too long, but you're dealing with new coaches and maybe some new ideas. You want to get with those people as soon as you can and get the ball rolling, and that's what our players have done.
Scott, I think the last time we talked to you publicly was at the winter meetings and just all of the challenges you guys were facing from a roster standpoint. What do you make about this group and the work that Jerry and Justin have been able to do to assemble it?
Well, our offseason didn't start off great. I think, our fan base certainly understands, where we're headed. I think the things that we've done here over the last 6 weeks, 2 months, fantastic job by both Jerry and Justin understanding, maybe some of the obstacles we're up against and trying to figure out how to make it work. And it wasn't easy. A lot of creative ideas get thrown around by not just those two guys, but everybody in the front office coming up with ideas on how to get our team better. And, you've heard me talk forever. My players have heard about it. It doesn't matter what you did last year. You got to get better. And in putting the roster together, we wanted to address certain deficiencies that we thought we had offensively. I think we have. But every team at this time of year thinks, they figured it out. And you have to play the games and get to know the players and see how it all comes together. So I like our team. I think, the backbone, the strength of our team is our pitching. There's no question about it. We didn't trade a lot of pitching. We kept the young guys, guys that were very desirable by other teams. And that's hard to do when you're trying to improve your club and not trade from your strength. And I think we did a great job with that. So there are a lot of new faces here. And there's some old faces that have come back. And I think it's a good mix. I love the way our lineup is on paper right now, and we'll see how it plays out here this spring.
Do you feel like you guys are a better lineup and maybe a better roster overall than you were on the last season last year?
I hope more consistent. I think that's the biggest thing. And you talk to people, and we play such a long season, and there's so many ups and downs. And I think overall last year our offense was fine. It was above league average in a number of areas. Ultimately, it's about scoring runs, and we were okay there. But the consistency of it came like real hot streaks and then a lot of real cold streaks. So hopefully we're more consistent and take advantage of the awesome pitching that we have. Yeah, I love our fan base. We have done a really good job here of raising the expectations. We've raised the bar. with the type of players we have, how we play, the production on the field, winning games, putting yourself in a position to be in the playoffs or be right there knocking on the door. So I think the expectations from our fans is justified. No issues with that. Everybody's frustrated at the end of the year. Our players, some of them commented. I was very frustrated. We felt we let a lot of people down, and most importantly, we let ourselves down because I thought we had a playoff caliber team. Last year is over, and I've often said when you get to spring training, every team is different. I know some of the faces are the same, but the personality your team takes on, kind of the identity they have, how they play the game, whatever, as some of our young players continue to mature, they're going to get better. I spent a lot of time, with some guys this offseason and talking to them. And I talk about our core guys, the JPs, the Julios, Cal, Logan, Rock. I mean, like, those guys understand where we're at as a team, what the expectations are, and they welcome it. Bring it on. But we got to get better. We got to win a few more games. I do. That's exactly where the mindset of our team is. And I love the fact that our fan base is as passionate as they are about it. It's awesome. I want people to care about the Mariners. I want people to come to the ballpark and enjoy the product they're seeing on the field. And really have their favorite player that they're pulling for and a guy that they can identify with and help their kids identify with. And we have those type of players. So I can't wait to get going. I am really excited. Sometimes the off seasons go fast. It's like, wow, we were just here doing this. I can speak for myself, coaching staff, and a number of players. This off season went slow. Couldn't wait to get back at it again based on how we finished last year.
How, if at all, was the organizational, self-processing of how you guys do things? Because you guys are so process-oriented. Were there any changes at all to how you looked at yourselves? Because you were one game short last year. You were one game short in 2021. You got in. Was there any, looking in the mirror, so to speak, of how we can do things maybe a little bit differently to get better?
Yeah, I think that's it's how we're always driving things, is looking at the programs we put in place and what we value and how we track it, and can we get better in certain areas? We certainly, statistically, what we did on the pitching side, we've done things that the Mariners have never done before, and really we're at the top of the league in a number of statistics, whether it was length of outings by our starters to the quality starts we had, what our bullpen was able to do, and how they bounced back. So we did a number of things really well, but we got to get a little bit better. And certainly the focus this offseason has been on the offense. How do we get more consistent? So I think you've seen by the adjustments we made with our position players on the offensive side what their capabilities are. And again, we got to coach them up. We need to get better at certain things. We need to get better at two-strike hitting. And I know our lineup is different. We should strike out a little bit less, put the ball in play a little bit more, but we still got to keep coaching it up, especially the young players that we have here, because there's a lot of guys, from Julio, Cal. I mean, you go through, even Ty is looking forward to making some adjustments in his game offensively. So, you got young players like Rayleigh, Canzone in the mix here. So, and then, we know what Mitch Haniger can do, when he's out there on a regular basis. So, we did address those things, and again, you got to go out in the field and do it.
From a mechanic standpoint, are you guys doing anything different with your pitchers and the ramp up for some of the guys or anything like that?
Yeah, some of the guys would be a little bit different. I think last year at this time we talked about, being very cautious on George Kirby. If you remember, he kind of started out the season. He was getting the extra day. I think, George has graduated now. He's one of the elite pitchers in the American League. But we do have a couple very young starters projected in our rotation. We will keep a very close eye on those guys in spring training and, try to protect them best we can. You can't protect them all. But the key is, making sure they're ready to go on March 28th. I'm not concerned about what velocity and the breaking balls and all that are looking like the first or couple times out there in the spring. But, we've had a lot of discussions about that this offseason and the ramp up and how to go about it. But you won't see a lot of those guys out there, certainly the first go-around through rotation. And that's why you bring so many pitchers and certainly young guys to camp to give those guys an opportunity to show us what they have. Because we know we're not just going to, whatever 13 pitchers we break with, you're going to need other guys. Things happen throughout the course of the year.
Do you have any guys that are dinged up or not ready to go right away? anything like that?
Yeah, there's a couple guys. Bizzardo, who pitched out of our bullpen late last year, had a little issue with his shoulder. Bullpen or live BP he threw before he came here. And newly acquired Santos is a little behind, so we will slow play him right now. He was coming off injury at the end of last year, but we just want to be careful with that one.
With everybody reporting yesterday, what's that day like for you? Is it just, getting your hands on them, so to speak, just connecting?
Yeah, it's reconnecting with a lot of guys you don't see in the off season, getting to know new faces. I talk all the time, and we have had a history here over the last few years of taking players, certainly relievers from other organizations, and we've signed a very interesting group again this year. Credit to our player personnel guys upstairs, but we've signed 5 or 6 of these guys that I would put in that bucket again, and we can say this is where the Paul Sewalds and the Steckenriders and the Topas and the Spires. I mean, there's a big group of guys. That's where they come from, and trying to see those guys, watch some bullpens, see how they react to live BPs and the games, because I know those guys. Maybe all 5 or 6 of them I have in that grouping right now will probably all pitch for us this year, and somewhere in that mix is, we hope, the next Paul Sewald or Steckenrider, somebody like that. And it's critical to our success to continue to be able to develop those type of players. And sometimes, you just turn the screw a little bit on a particular pitch, get them to understand what their true strengths really are and get them to do those things more consistently, and it's worked out really well for us. So you want to start building relationships with those guys as quick as you can. More so, I know who Matt Brash is. I know who Andres Munoz is, and those guys will make sure they're ready to go when the season starts. But you're always looking for the depth, and that's a big part of spring training.
Scott, you lost 2 pretty good leaders on the pitching side, and Robbie and Marco. I mean, who steps forward? I mean, Logan's not the most verbose guy, but he has a personality. George is George. I mean, Luis is out there kind of there, but who steps forward for you guys?
Yeah, I think leadership comes in a lot of different shapes and sizes. It was pretty obvious, what Robbie meant to our pitching staff, and Marco. Those guys have been in the league, that had track record, a lot of success in the league. They had routines, but I feel really good about the group we have. Now, when those guys leave via trade, it creates an opportunity for other guys to step up. Whether that is Luis Castillo. I do believe Logan has that in him, and I know everybody says, oh, Logan's so quiet. Logan's starting to come out of his shell a little bit, and I think our clubhouse is going to see that. Same thing with George, but I want guys to just be authentic, be who they are. You hear me talk about that all the time. Don't try to pretend and things like that. It's more the leadership side, and the pitching staff is more the one-off conversations with Brian Wu or Bryce Miller or a young reliever that we have, and you share ideas, pitching on your routines between starts, things like that. And the guys we have are certainly capable of doing that. I think Logan has a very rigid routine that works for him, and I'm sure there's things that he can pass along to Bryce Miller and Brian Wu and Emerson and guys like that that'll help them. So we certainly have the capabilities to do it. It's never been asked of those guys before, so we'll give them an opportunity to do those things.